questioning why Meghan's going back to acting. Is it because she's running out of money? No, if you want a money conversation, let's talk about the money that the non-working taxpayer-funded British royal family have, because British taxpayers would love to know their financial and fiscal status. But back to Meghan. She's going back to acting because she blooming loves the job. She's talked about it extensively, journalists. It's not difficult to find her openly commenting on video about how much she enjoyed her acting career and particularly how much she enjoyed being in Suits. And this is the definition of Meghan. Anything that she genuinely enjoys, from investing in other female founders to acting, to working for charity, to working with Netflix, she will do it. She wants a full life. She doesn't want to get on a private jet and then go and fly to Brazil and lecture poorer people about climate change, because that would be pointless, right? Comments are open as ever. Let me know what you think.
It has become a recurring theme in the media cycle, the relentless scrutiny of Meghan Sussex. Time and again, she finds herself at the centre of manufactured narratives, with tabloids eager to paint her as someone driven by money, someone allegedly returning to acting because she and her husband, Prince Harry, supposedly fear running out of financial resources. Recently, Martyn weighed in on this discourse, responding fiercely to such claims, and in doing so, he laid bare a truth that many fail to see. His words struck a chord with those who follow Meghan Sussex, not just for her public life, but for the resilience she has consistently shown in the face of unwarranted criticism. Martyn's observation was simple, yet profound. If you want to start a money conversation, then let's talk about funded money. Those few words cut through the noise and refocused attention on the real issues, the forces that drive these narratives and the hypocrisy of the tabloids that perpetuate them. The media has long enjoyed a peculiar fascination with Meghan Sussex. She is scrutinised in ways that few public figures endure, yet the same outlets rarely examine the motivations behind their own coverage. When tabloids suggest that Meghan Sussex returned to acting simply because of financial necessity, they construct a narrative designed to provoke moral judgment. They imply dependency, portraying her as someone whose ambition is dictated solely by the fear of running out of money. But Martyn's critique challenges this premise, pointing to an uncomfortable reality the tabloids prefer to ignore. The money they so casually cite as a justification for her actions is insignificant in comparison to the resources that fund the very attacks they publish. It is funded money that sustains the media machinery, money that originates not from genuine public concern, but from interest-driven enterprises that thrive on drama, outrage, and controversy. Meghan Sussex's life, as Martyn highlighted, is far more complex than the tabloids acknowledge. Her career choices, including returning to acting, cannot simply be reduced to financial insecurity. Meghan Sussex, like any professional in her field, makes career decisions based on a combination of passion, purpose, and opportunity. The insinuation that her return to acting is purely a monetary maneuver dismisses her agency, her talents, and the strategic decisions she and Prince Harry make together. It also reflects a broader societal issue: the tendency to police women's choices, particularly when they occupy positions of visibility. Martyn's words serve as a reminder that the conversation about Meghan Sussex should not be manipulated to fit a convenient narrative. Instead, it should involve a more nuanced understanding of the challenges and ambitions that define her life. The insistence on framing Meghan Sussex as financially desperate is not only misleading, but also a diversion. While tabloids spend time questioning her motives, they rarely confront their own complicity in the very environment that makes financial independence and strategic career moves necessary. Martyn's remark about funded money illuminates this contradiction. These outlets are funded by advertisers, media conglomerates, and corporate entities whose primary interest lies not in the truth, but in maintaining a profitable narrative. In this light, the discourse around Meghan Sussex becomes less about her and more about the ecosystem that exploits her image. The tabloids' fixation on money, in other words, is not accidental. It is a calculated mechanism to sustain readership, controversy, and profit, all while portraying Meghan Sussex as a figure of scandal. Moreover, Martyn's commentary exposes a deeper hypocrisy in how Meghan Sussex is treated compared to other public figures. The focus on her alleged financial motivations is rarely matched with a critical analysis of how media funding and influence shape public perception. The suggestion that Meghan Sussex is acting out of fear of financial instability is both simplistic and unfair. It ignores the substantial financial resources she and Prince Harry have, as well as their thoughtful approach to projects and initiatives that align with their personal and philanthropic goals. When critics obsess over whether she has enough money, they overlook the broader narrative. The very media outlets questioning her finances are funded by interests that benefit from casting her in a negative light. Martyn's insistence on discussing funded money forces audiences to see the issue from this perspective. Meghan Sussex's return to acting, therefore, cannot be understood merely as a response to financial concern. It is a deliberate, empowered decision in line with her career aspirations and personal objectives. Acting provides her with a platform to tell stories, to engage with creative projects, and to assert control over her narrative. This is in stark contrast to the tabloids' depiction of her as a figure reacting out of desperation. Martyn's intervention reframes the conversation, reminding observers that focusing narrowly on money misses the real story. It is not a question of whether Meghan Sussex has the funds to live comfortably. It is a question of why the media is so eager to misrepresent her motivations, and why audiences are encouraged to accept this distortion without scrutiny. Equally important is Martyn's broader critique of public discourse surrounding Meghan Sussex. By highlighting funded money, he points to the structural power dynamics at play. These are not isolated attacks. They are part of a larger pattern in which media outlets exploit the financial and professional achievements of high-profile individuals, selectively reporting to fit preconceived narratives. Meghan Sussex becomes a convenient target, and the story about her finances is a tool rather than a reflection of reality. Martyn's statement therefore resonates as a call to critically evaluate the sources of information we consume. It challenges readers and viewers to look beyond the surface-level gossip and to ask, who profits from the way this story is told and what is left unexamined? The irony, as Martyn emphasizes, is that tabloids are quick to criticize Meghan Sussex for supposedly prioritizing money, yet they fail to examine the money that sustains their own operations. Funded money, in this context, refers not only to the financial backing of media enterprises, but also to the networks of influence that dictate which stories are amplified and how they are framed. The conversation about Meghan Sussex is therefore incomplete if it ignores these structural realities. Martyn's approach is instructive. Rather than accepting the superficial critique, he redirects attention to the root causes of the media's obsession. This framing allows for a more informed understanding of Meghan Sussex's choices and challenges the audience to question assumptions embedded in tabloid reporting. Furthermore, Martyn's defense of Meghan Sussex underscores the importance of accountability in media narratives. By refusing to accept the claim that she returned to acting out of financial fear, he not only protects her reputation, but also exposes the broader ethical failings of the press. His insistence on discussing funded money highlights a pattern. Media entities often prioritize sensationalism over accuracy, framing stories in ways that benefit their bottom line while undermining the credibility and autonomy of their subjects. In defending Meghan Sussex, Martyn is not merely rebutting a rumour, he is advocating for a more responsible and critical engagement with information. This approach challenges audiences to reconsider the ease with which they internalize media-generated narratives, particularly those that diminish women's agency or oversimplify complex decisions. Ultimately, the discourse surrounding Meghan Sussex, when viewed through Martyn's lens, becomes a lesson in critical thinking. It demonstrates the necessity of questioning dominant narratives, examining the interests behind them, and acknowledging the nuanced realities of public figures' lives. Meghan Sussex's career, including her return to acting, is a reflection of her ambition, talent, and strategic decision-making, not an act of financial desperation. Martyn's emphasis on funded money reframes the conversation, encouraging the public to interrogate the motivations behind media coverage and to recognize the forces that shape perceptions of wealth, success, and autonomy. In conclusion, the conversation about Meghan Sussex should not be reduced to allegations of financial necessity or desperation. The tabloids' repeated framing of her actions in terms of money is a distraction from the real dynamics at play: the interests that fund media narratives, the structural inequalities that inform public discourse, and the agency of Meghan Sussex herself. Martyn's intervention is a necessary reminder that media literacy requires more than passive consumption. It demands scrutiny, critical thinking, and a willingness to see beyond superficial narratives. By challenging the claim that Meghan Sussex returned to acting out of financial fear and insisting on discussing funded money, Martyn exposes a deeper truth. The real problem is not Meghan Sussex, but the system that manufactures and profits from her vilification. For those willing to look closely, this insight is both empowering and enlightening, offering a lens through which to understand the interplay between media, money, and agency in the life of a public figure who continues to navigate fame, criticism, and ambition with grace.